What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm the Side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys. We're Tad the Side, and Tad, sort of been an up and down football weekend for us because
just down.
Maybe for you it's been just down, but for me, San Jose State is now 3-0.
I
am riding the high streak there with college football. But yeah, Niners dropped an easy one, I think, against Minnesota. Just they did not look like their typical selves. And yeah, surprising fact that I thought they'd buck the trend here, but they have not won in Minnesota since 1992. So I thought they would break that trend finally, but clearly it just, I don't know what it is. They just have some sort of bugaboo about playing in Minneapolis for some reason, so it didn't work out.
First off, well, let me interrupt. First off, great saying, bugaboo. Always a great saying. Second off, to put in perspective for our viewers and listeners, that means that your 49ers have not won in Minnesota in my lifetime.
In your lifetime, yeah.
I was born in 1994.
There you go. Yeah. Your
that
entire
is insanity.
Lifetime, they have not won in
It's
Minnesota.
not even like Minnesota's been like a powerhouse the last 30 years.
I don't know what it is. I'm wondering if just like maybe the body clock thing where it's like they're playing on West Coast time, but they're in Central
Seattle
time.
just won in Boston. That doesn't know. That not an excuse.
I don't know what it is, but just, yeah, for some reason, couldn't get it done. So yeah, we'll see what happens this coming week. They play against the Rams, divisional matchup, big rivalry there between Shanahan and McVay, so it should be a fun one. Rams are coming off a big blowout loss to Arizona, so yeah, that should be an interesting matchup. So Ted, I know it was a rough weekend for you. TCU, I think, had a rough game, and I think Colts and Anthony Richardson did not have a good game either. So,
and my fantasy matchup is still in play too. He has Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown going tomorrow.
AJ Brown is out.
Yes!
AJ Brown is out.
He's got Jalen Hurts. I'm up by 12. Let's go.
He is dealing with a hamstring injury, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he is officially listed out. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson probably feature him a lot, and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, he's an Eagle.
But yeah, we could see some more rushing from Jalen Hurts. So yeah, you can't just take it too easy with AJ Brown being out. But if he doesn't remember, then yeah, that's sort of like a gift for you. Got a 0 at one position point on his roster there. So yeah.
Let's go.
This NFL season has been very
insane.
It's like, yeah,
it's been insane.
Interesting matches. We got the New Orleans Saints 2-0, and they have the highest scoring output through 2 weeks of the season.
Dennis Allen to get fired.
I know. I think they're tied for the 4th most points through the first 2 weeks of the season. And it's like, you think that, obviously, they blew out Carolina. It's like, that was kind of expected, right? Then you come here and you blow out Dallas in Dallas. Like, that was quite surprising, too. So I don't know whether it's just like Dallas just did not take them, seriously, or whether the Saints are legit. Like, I mean, yeah, it's still only been 2 weeks. Tad, I think something that you brought up like a couple episodes ago about like not having, 4 games in the preseason, maybe this is sort of playing into the early parts of the season for lots of these teams as to why like maybe my Niners lost, why the Rams lost by so big, why the Saints are surprising people here. So, I mean, just like maybe that's playing a part of it, but just, yeah, as of right now, it's still very hard to tell like who are the legit contenders and who are just pretenders right now. It's only been 2 weeks. I think it's no reason to panic or like, scream to the heavens that your team is actually going to be winning a Super Bowl this year. Like, it's way too early to make any sort of prediction there, but it also makes it a little bit difficult, but I don't think that should stop you from doing it, is playing and participating and partnering with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Because, I mean, right now, I mean, maybe the NFL season is a little bit more harder to bet on, but you could bet on the college football season. You could bet on the WNBA playoffs, which is starting pretty soon. You could bet on the NBA season, which is tipping off in October. You got the final regular season month of the MLB season. Plus, then you'll got the MLB playoffs. I mean, there's a ton of things you could be betting on right now. You got UFC and boxing. And I know we had a big USC weekend this past weekend, so you can bet on that as well. So whatever you're comfortable with, all you have to do is make anywhere between 2 and 8 different prop bet picks across whatever you're comfortable with. More picks you make, more potential money you can win. And guys, use our promo code that we want to share with you here, given to us by our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. That promo code is DESAI, DESAI. You could double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Match that dollar for dollar. If you use our promo code on your first deposit only, you can bet with up to $1,000 on their betting platform. You can use the website, very easy to use. You can use the apps, both on Android and Apple devices, very easy to use, very user-friendly on those as well. So once again, that promo code, guys, is DESAI, DESAI. Double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. And so, Tad, I mean, with this sort of like up and down season that we've been having through the first 2 weeks, we've also had a fair amount of injuries. Yep. And yeah, we're going to cover some of the bigger names that have sort of been on the injury block, I guess, heading into week 3 now as we get closer here to week 3. We still got one more game in the week 2 slate, but yeah, we got some big names that potentially could miss some time. We're recording on a Sunday here, so I mean, we still don't know the severity of some of these injuries and whether this could be a long-term thing. This is going to be maybe just a couple weeks. Maybe this is nothing and they're going to be completely fine, but we're just letting you know now so you're aware that's like, hey, monitor these situations as we progress through the upcoming week heading into week 3 here. So let's start at the quarterback position here first, Tad. I'm going to flash back to that Thursday game. We had Tua Tagovailoa. Took a rough hit towards the end of that game there, and he did one of those, like, the flex things do, like where it's like, yeah.
I saw someone refer to it as the fencing arm. I don't.
Yes, that's what I heard too. That was the fencing term that arm.
I'm not. Yeah. I don't know what the origin of that term is, but yeah. His right arm extended all the way out. Yeah, I'll get ahead of your question that's coming up. Is it's tough because I like Tua. I like him a lot, as he seems like a cool dude. He seems like a good person. He got my boy Dan Le Batard in the national headlines for at least a week there after his comments on what's the coach's name again?
His former coach Brian Flores.
Yeah, there you go. After his comments on Flores, I don't know. I just love that kind of honesty. I think he's kind of grown into himself, but it's time to hang it up. It's time to hang it up. It's you got to do what's best for you. This is a lesson I learned the hard way, especially through teaching, is they will, take advantage of you time and time again, but you got to look out for yourself. And it really sucks to say, because I like the Dolphins too. The Dolphins are one of those weird, like, secondary teams I really like and I cheer for, but man, it's either put on that stupid looking cap thing or retire.
The Guardian cap. Yeah, a lot of people are wondering whether that can make a difference. But yeah, for the foreseeable future, Tua Tagovailoa will not be playing for the Miami Dolphins. They'll be going with Skylar Thompson as their backup right now. So we'll see exactly how that'll affect the Miami Dolphins offense there. But just, prayers for Tua. Because, as soon as I saw that hit, I was just like, man, this is a serious one. It wasn't like, looks like he could bounce back. It was like, as soon as you saw him do that, as they call it, the fencing arm or whatever, I was like, oh, this is a serious one again.
Well,
he's going to miss time.
2 things. One, that's exactly. First off, DeMar Hamlin was just like, he said after the game, he's like, I wasn't trying to hit him hard. DeMar Hamlin, that wasn't your fault. Like, that was the NFL's worst nightmare. That had to be against DeMar Hamlin.
Of course.
But that's also why I think he should retire, is because it wasn't that aggressive of a hit. It wasn't like, just as we watched, about a half hour ago as a recording, when Jalen Petrie laid out Cole Kmet. I was like, oh, that was brutal. No part of that Tua hit. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, good hit. Like, that's the point where I'm like, no, you should probably retire. Also, on a more lighter note, Ryan Tannehill back to Miami redemption tour.
Apparently he's being very particular because obviously we have the news of obviously Jordan Love being hurt too. So there's rumors that he may go to Green Bay.
How dare you bring up Green Bay on this podcast?
But the biggest thing is just apparently he's very selective about where he wants to go. Wherever he goes, he wants to start the rest of the year. So he doesn't want this like brief spot where it's like, I'm going to start here. So Miami could be a situation where it's like, if they deem that Tua Tagovailoa is just not suited to play the rest of the season, like we don't have any sort of timetable as far as like when he'll potentially come back, whatever it is. But just like, if the Dolphins are like, you know what, you need to take this year to really figure out the rest of your career before we can insert you back to being a starting quarterback for this franchise, then maybe, yeah, Ryan Tannehill, a reunion in Miami could be in the cards there because, yeah, like I said, based on what I've been reading, he wants to find a spot where he will be the starter for a long time, not just a brief, interim situation here. So, yeah, very interesting to see what happens there in Miami with Tua Tagovailoa, possibly Ryan Tannehill, Skylar Thompson, whatever it is. Yeah, as of right now, though, for the foreseeable future, it will not be Tua.
Ryan, come to Indianapolis. It's wonderful this time of year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure it is. Another quarterback, bigger name here. We got Los Angeles Chargers quarterback, so affecting the LAFB network, Justin Herbert.
This was worrisome. I thought this was going to be a lot worse.
So the surprising thing, though, is that he did not miss a play in this game. So he played the entire game, and they took him after the game to get x-rays on his lower leg. He's got his right leg rolled up. Honestly, we just don't know what the extent of the injury is. Like, this is still very preliminary news that we're getting here. But yeah, we saw it. Jim Harbaugh addressed it. And honestly, Tad, he's the type of guy that will play through an injury. He's got that sort of grit in his mentality.
Came right back. Didn't take a play off.
Exactly. Like I said, he didn't miss an entire play during that game at all, even with that injury that happened. It happened towards the end of the game anyways, but it's like still, he did not miss a single play after it happened there. So it's like I still think that going into week 3, like I'm still leaning at putting him at that Q next to his name as opposed to like a D or possibly even ruling him out unless after, x-rays and further tests, they reveal that's like, you know what, let's play it a little bit cautious. He did have plantar fasciitis as well. So it's like maybe these are the two things combined together. They want to keep it a little bit cautious with their franchise quarterback there. But also another reason their backup is Easton Stick. Probably not one of the better names.
It should be Max Duggan.
Probably not one of the bigger names to come out of North Dakota State, unfortunately, just followed by the wayside there. But just, yeah, so we'll see exactly what they decide to do there. But I don't see any sort of issue with Justin Herbert playing this coming week, but just something to monitor for sure.
Can he hand the ball off?
Yeah.
Yeah, then he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of what the focal point is there, especially with that offense that they have there. And so, yeah, I don't see it being an issue, but yeah, monitor situation there with Justin Herbert. All right, speaking of running backs and handing the ball up, I got 2 running backs on the injury list here, especially, excuse me, I have 3 running backs because we do have a running back that happened for the Sunday night game too.
Live updates. Live updates.
Not in my notes here, so we'll get to that one first, actually. Joe Mixon. He suffered an ankle injury towards the end of the first half. When they came out of the first half, out of the locker room, he was running some routes, trying to test his ankle, trying to run some juke moves on the sidelines, but it seemed like he was questionable to return. He eventually did not return to the game. I think they tried him for a couple plays, but then they eventually just ruled him out for the rest of the game. We saw a lot of Cam Akers in that second half of the game, so I think we're going to have to wait to see exactly the extent of, once again, tests and see exactly what the doctors say as far as the extent of his injury and what exactly happened there. But just, yeah, we did see a lot of Cam Akers in this game, and he was nowhere near as productive as Joe Mixon was. But also, I will say that Joe Mixon wasn't that super productive in this game either before he got hurt. So, I mean, maybe that was just more the Bears defense were able to stifle the running game. But just regardless, I still didn't like Cam Akers to sort of take that spot of Joe Mixon in case Joe Mixon is going to have to miss any amount of time there. So, yeah, we'll see exactly what happens there with the Texans and Joe Mixon. Another running back that suffered an injury here. We got Tyjae Spears of the Tennessee Titans. Honestly, Ted, I remember when we were talking the offseason that we thought that the Tony Pollard signing with Tennessee was going to be not as big a deal, that Tyjae Spears would be more of a focal point of this offense.
We thought that?
You sided with me on some of those conversations. I remember.
I'll get into the nitty gritty on that in a bit, but you keep going.
Okay, sure. So he seemed to suffer an ankle injury in the third quarter against the New York Jets. He left the game, did not return to the game. Tony Pollard seems to be handling majority of the duties in this offense so far through 2 games of action. Tyjae Spears has 16 total touches across 2 games, and this is obviously including the injury, whereas Tony Pollard in comparison has 43 total touches in comparison. So clearly it is his backfield. And so, yeah, Tyjae Spears being out, it doesn't seem to affect the, fantasy landscape that much. He wasn't being involved that much. But in case they do want to do some sort of split timeshare there, Julius Chestnut will step in as the backup running back in case Tyjae Spears has to miss any time there at Tennessee. But it seems like it's Tony Pollard's backfield, so I don't know how much it's going to affect any sort of fantasy landscape with Tony Pollard or the Tennessee Titans. Or, yeah, if you're a Tyjae Spears manager, you're going to be looking for somebody else anyways there.
Time the absolute fuck out. What is the other backup's name?
Julius Chestnut.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. That's like something semi-pro.
Yeah.
That's something like Will Ferrell. Julius Chestnut. That's actually his name.
That is his name. Julius
That is
Chestnut.
his legal given last name.
Like, I can't attribute to that, but yeah, that is what is listed on the roster. So it could have been name change, but yeah, whatever it is. But that's what fantastic. It is. Yeah.
That's like a bit, this is a sidetrack, but I'm going to go down this road. That's like a bit me and my friends have always had of like, imagine if this football player was like an insurance agent instead. And like, you got a call from State Farm and you picked up the phone and be like, hi, I'm agent Barkevius Mingo. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, imagine getting that from an insurance agent of, yeah, hi, I'm Julius Chestnut. It's like, all right. Who is this? Who's messing with me?
Very true.
That's
so before
amazing.
I get you
real quick, I gotta nip this we in the bud here.
Okay.
Because we did not agree that Tyjae Spears was going to be fantasy relevant. You thought he might be. I'm not going to say you thought he would be. You thought he might be. Yeah. I agree that I think he might be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Pollard, which he hasn't. Wow, I did that right. How about that? Just thought that. I think that, and not that I'm wishing an injury or not that I'm happy an injury has happened, but I think for fantasy managers, this is a blessing in disguise because Tyjae Spears, and maybe I'm just doing this anecdotally because you have sung his praises for the last 2 years. He is finally out of our lives, and I don't have to hear about him for the next couple of weeks.
Fair.
It's just like, fine. That like, what if is finally out of our lives? It's gone. It's no longer a possibility. It's fleeting. It's beautiful. Watch as it goes off in the sunset. So no, I think that Pollard had this job in lockdown. He will continue to have this job in lockdown. And I hope the Titans continue to suck because God, the Colts suck.
Yeah. They're
so bad.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with Tyjae Spears once we get more news about the severity of his injury. Then the last running back that I want to bring up here, Isiah Pacheco in the Kansas City Chiefs game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Towards the end of the game against Cincinnati Bengals, he suffered an ankle injury. Ted, I don't know if you saw the replay of this injury, but literally a defender. Nasty. Yeah, a defender had him by the legs and he was bending backwards because another defender was tackling from up above. And so, yeah, rolled up. It looked like it would be a lot worse, but he seemed to be walking just fine after that. But the report is that after the game was over, he was leaving the stadium. He left the stadium not only with crutches, but also with the boot on his leg as well. No reports yet about the severity injury, but yeah, based on the way that it looked and yeah, seeing now that he had both crutches and a walking boot leaving the stadium, that this could be something that may force him to miss some time for sure from that offense. Now, the one thing that sort of worries me about this backfield without Isiah Pacheco is that, yeah, the other guys are just very similar to what we were talking about with the Chargers being without Justin Herbert. It's like the Easton Stick doesn't give me a lot of promise here. But yeah, here with the Kansas City Chiefs, there's only like, risk there potentially where it's like, low risk, high reward sort of this situation, but it's like nothing that really entices me. So the backups would be Samaje Perine and the rookie Carson Steele. Carson Steele intrigues me a little bit because he was seeing the backfield as a fullback. They were using him as a fullback with Isiah Pacheco to sort of lead some runs there. I think he returned a few kicks as well. So, I mean, there is some promise with him more than Samaje Perine in my eyes there, but just still, both of those guys just is a little bit risky for me. But you also think about the Chiefs offense and they find a way to find guys out of anywhere sort of thing, right? Where it's just like you look at Damian Williams, who should have been the Super Bowl MVP in 2019. Then all of a sudden he's gone for the roster now. They obviously drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's been doing absolutely nothing. And then now they have obviously Isiah Pacheco, who came out of nowhere. So it's like they have all these guys that just sort of find a way to fit their roles on this offense. And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if either of these two guys end up being a sort of like, streaming option for you if Pacheco has to miss any time. So what do you think about the Chiefs backfield?
Yeah, I'm sorry because I was actually about to look him up because I kind of forgot his name, which shows how fast he went out of the mindset. Let's go back to Pacheco, where, I remember when the Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire and we're all like, finally they found their man.
It's the perfect fit for their offense. Yeah,
exactly. Because particularly when it comes to fantasy, it was just a running back by committee. Like it was the Saints receiving core of the 2010s at running back of like, well, who's going to go off this week? I have no idea. And you know what? If you're going to ask me who's going to go off next week, because I'd be shocked if Pacheco can play. If he's in a boot, like they're going to list him as questionable come Monday is my bet. And there's no way. If you're a Pacheco manager, bet that he will not play. But point being is I think they'll go back to running back by committee where, yes, there's some value to be had there if you're in a desperate spot. Let's say 2 of your running backs are on a bye week and the next couple of weeks. When are bye weeks coming back, by the way? Week 4?
I think the earliest is week 5.
Week 5, so we're about 3 weeks away. But if that happens to you, like if you're in a desperate spot, depending on the matchup, and that's why you have to keep tuning into our podcast, by the way, because we will keep you updated on that. But in terms of consistent reliability, nah, there's nothing there, especially because a point you left out is Connor Steele, which, by the way, has been like a media darling. I'm so sick of them being like, this undrafted kid, Connor Steele. Like, yeah, I get it. He's a white running back that went undrafted. Leave me alone. He had a fumble. He had a fumble today.
He did.
So I'm going to be very interested to see how that coach trust kind of relays over, how much more they're going to rely on the passing game, because this passing game looks miles better than it did last year.
That is true.
It is so much better. And also another name to look out for, what's keeping them from putting Worthy in that backfield?
I could see it happening.
They did a little bit today. He didn't take any handoffs, but he did play some snaps in the backfield where then he ran out. So Worthy's another name to look out for of like, okay, maybe we utilize his versatility.
It could be the case. Could be the case there. But yeah, we'll see exactly how it all plays out there with Pacheco's injury and whether he's going to have to miss, any time, no time, and even that time that he does have to miss, how much time. Because, yeah, it looked pretty bad. But yeah, obviously some of these times it's like you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that's only going to miss a week. It's like, really? That's only going to miss a week? And then sometimes you see an injury, it's like, oh, that doesn't look too bad. It's like out for the entire season. So it's like, I really don't know how these things are going to play out. So yeah, wait to hear about more news about Pacheco, but tread with caution with Isiah Pacheco. I agree with Tad there for sure. Let's get to the receivers. We've got some big names, unfortunately, on the receiver injury report here. So I want to bring up one name that, Tad, you were mentioning is sort of a big deal, but it turns out it's not going to be a huge deal as well.
People were acting like he died.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson, yeah, he suffered a quad injury during that game against the San Francisco 49ers. And he said after the game that he's just going to have to monitor this with the trainers. But he said, if I have to play next week, I'm definitely going to play next week. So he himself has said that he wants to play. But once again, I mean, they did list him on the injury report after the game was over. So, I mean, that is something to keep in mind. But it seems like he's going to be perfectly fine, like based on what I've been hearing, what I've been reading there from the post-game sort of news conference and everything there. That's not going to be a big issue. But the two other names that I do want to bring up, because these are big names as well. We'll start with LA, Cooper Kupp. Unfortunately, a guy, the Rams just put Puka Nacua on the IR list, so he's going to miss the next 3 more games after this at least, because he just missed today's game. But yeah, Cooper Kupp left that blowout game against the Arizona Cardinals with an ankle injury. He did not return to the game, but even if he returned the game, I don't think it would have made a huge difference based on the way that game was going.
No, he totally would have scored 31 unanswered points.
Honestly, if there's anybody who would do it, it might be Cooper Kupp.
That's so true.
But just, yeah, the way that game was going, unfortunately, I don't think he would have made a difference. You did see him, apparently reports were saying that he was in a walking boot after the game. Like I said, this is a significant blow because they're already missing Puka Nacua. They couldn't get their running game going in this game as well. Their offensive line, Tad, your boy Steve Avila, he is out of this offensive line as well, dealing with the injury. They're missing a couple other guys on the
McLendon, I'm sorry, dude. You retire. You're terrible. You're just terrible.
So they're missing a lot of guys on the offensive line. Their defense is dealing with a few injuries as well. So the injury bug has really hit Los Angeles right now. And just like, yeah, to start the season, that is not what you want for sure. So I mentioned this earlier, but they're facing the 49ers this coming week too. So that's not a loss that you want heading into a big divisional matchup with San Francisco, where it's like you're missing Cooper Kupp, you're missing Puka Nacua, missing a lot of your starting offensive linemen. So it's just like, it's not a good situation for, a very Iron Man type of quarterback and Matthew Stafford, but it's hard to sort of keep that moniker if you're going to be missing a lot of these guys. He took a lot of sacks against Arizona this week. And so, yeah, if he has the same thing happening next week with San Francisco, that's not going to be a good situation for them going forward as far as like, if he has to miss a time, then they had to bring in the backup or just like what that is there. But just, yeah, Cooper Kupp not playing, that's a little bit worrisome for the Rams passing offense for sure. And then, Tad, before I get your thoughts on Cooper Kupp, I want to bring up the other big name that you give your thoughts about both these guys. The Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions.
He tried his best. He tried his best, man.
Yeah. He played the whole game for the most part, but yeah, he ended up leaving the game on the Lions' final drive with apparent leg injury. Dan Campbell also said in the post-game conference that it's a hamstring issue, but he said he's not going to miss. It's not a long-term issue. That's directly what his words were. Problem with him saying that is that long-term issue means that, okay, maybe it doesn't mean that it's season ending, but it could still mean that he'll miss like 2 weeks. It's like, it's still a very vague answer where it's just like, that doesn't give me assurance as a fantasy manager. If I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on my roster, that's like, okay, does that mean he's still going to miss this week? Is he going to miss 2 weeks? Is he not going to miss like the entire season? Like, it's still a very vague answer. So I think we still have to wait and see exactly what the doctor's reports say, what further analysis gives there. But just, yeah, that could be a little bit concerning. But the big thing there is that Jameson Williams, a guy that, they took a, high draft pick on him. They're expecting him to be a bigger contributor last year. Fortunately, it just didn't happen because he was dealing with some injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, coming to start this season, he is looking like a very good supplemental piece to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if Amon-Ra St. Brown has to miss any time, I think Jameson Williams can fill that void. You obviously got the second-year tight end now, Sam Laporta. He'll be a good fit there. And Khalif Raymond can be a secondary option in that passing off. So I think they should be okay. They're obviously very run first. So David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, can fill that void as well. So it's not a huge hit to that offense. But yeah, you lose a guy of Amon-Ra St. Brown's capabilities. That's still a detrimental piece of your offense now, going forward. So thoughts on Cooper Kupp and the Rams, and then thoughts on the Sun God and the Lions.
Yeah, if I'm a Rams fan, I'm very not happy right now. This is like the worst possible start to the season you could imagine. Puka out, Cooper Kupp out. One interesting name to keep an eye on, because I know everybody's been talking up DeMarcus Robinson, as they should. He's going to be the focal point of this offense. Tutu Atwell. He was a very popular name last year. Not a lot of people remember him because he did not follow through on the potential sleeper promise of last year. Now he may have no choice but to follow through on that promise. So if I'm a Rams fan, I'm not panicking too badly. I'm worried, but I'm not panicking too badly because, as you mentioned, a lot of this offense is hurt. A lot of this offense is out. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their bye week is in about 2 or 3 weeks. So
I think they had the early bye week. Yeah,
that's a crucial early bye week. That is where you get that bye week, in February or whatever they release the schedule, and you're like, oh, God damn it. And now you're like, oh, thank God, because it is a crucial rest week for that entire team. I don't think the season is over for the Rams yet. In terms of fantasy, I'm not picking up Stafford like I did last week. I'm promptly dropping Stafford. So I'm not looking at him, for this upcoming weekend. Pretty much any Rams player is just out for the time being in terms of fantasy relevance for me. I'm not saying drop them for your roster. I'm just saying bench them. In terms of who's the other guy, St. Brown, here's my big worry with this. It's not a long-term issue, Dan Campbell, for now.
Yeah.
This has me worried about what I've called Julio Jones syndrome, where it's not a bad issue until week 10, and oh no, it popped up again, and then week 13, oh no, it popped up again, and then you're having to monitor his status like leading up to the minute of kickoff. Yeah, that's where my worry is. And then with him, if he misses time, with him out, how does this offense change? Because I do wonder. You're absolutely right. Jameson Williams is having the breakout we've been waiting 2 years for, if he would just stop gambling. But is that just because he's that good, or is it just because everyone's focusing on St. Brown, so he's in one-on-one coverage? Now without St. Brown, is he going to get more attention? There's my concern. I don't know. I could see it going either way, that he is good enough to beat that, or simply he's just benefiting from St. Brown being on the other side of the field. So that is a real big concern I have for this Lions offense, should this be a lingering issue.
Yes, the Rams have a bye week in week 6. So, I mean, that's probably like,
That's perfect timing.
It's like, it's good. It's still early, but yeah, it's still, they have to deal with 3 more weeks. Like I said, they'll play San Francisco, they'll play Chicago, and then they'll play Green Bay before they go to the bye week. So,
but there's still time to come back, record speaking. And this actually goes for fantasy teams as well. If you start the season, 3-3, 3-2, whatever it is, you can come back from that.
That's true.
You cannot come back from 1-7 or what they would be without Cooper Kupp and Puka for the first 10 games. That would be disastrous.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true.
Now, if Matt Stafford goes down, they're fucked.
Yeah, that you're kind of in a big problem there for sure. All right. So with all these injuries that have been creeping up, and potentially these guys missing some time here, we definitely need to address guys that we're going to pick up off the waiver wire. So, I mean,
Good.
Chad, let's sort of go through here as far as our waiver wire picks for every position here. So let's go at the quarterback. Who do you got for me?
All right, so this is a guy I wanted to pick last week, but unfortunately, you got your picks in first, so you stole this opportunity, and you stole, unfortunately, a good steal start, what I call a steal start, where you start him because it was a steal.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to go off this weekend. God damn it, did he go off? That is Baker freaking Mayfield. This dude's awesome. I love him. And I texted a friend this, last week is I think Baker Mayfield is what the NFL was hoping Johnny Manziel would be. Like watching him play, it just feels like a simple, to put in college football 25 terms for you video game players. Like when you recruit an improviser quarterback, this is why I want to have an improviser quarterback. There was a great drive. It got red zone drive of the day, by the way, where Chris Godwin on 2 third-down throws on the run. And by on the run, I'm not meaning like, roll out from the pocket, buy more time. I mean, like there was a dude like 2 yards behind him, ready to murder him. And he nailed both these throws. I call it the eyeball test. I came up with that. No one else has ever, I'm doing my Trump impression. No one else has ever thought of that.
Sure.
I came up with it.
Sure
30 the cats, 30 the dogs. Cap's already gone.
Why would you put that in the universe?
Yeah, I had to.
He's such a good cat.
Actually, where is he? Oh, there you are. He's good. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Yeah. He's fine. But point being is, Baker Mayfield, like this is the most polished I've ever seen him. And so I think this streak is going to continue. Actually, and it's a little fluctuating because, obviously all their points are being tabulated. Some stats may change. But if I did my math right, which is a big if, Baker Mayfield is like come Tuesday is going to be the top rated in terms of points scored, the top rated fantasy quarterback.
He'll definitely be in the top 5. I think, unfortunately,
he's a lock for the top 5. He's a lock for the top 5.
Surprisingly, Derek Carr, I think, will be number 1.
I think that might be true, which is why I'm a little
much to Al Rose's chagrin. He'll probably be number 1.
I love that so much. But anyway, so his passing stats as of now are just 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. But let's look at his schedule going forward, right? Because that's what matters. Not what have you done for me? What will you do for me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He plays Philadelphia, Atlanta twice, Denver, and New Orleans all before their Week 11 bye. That's a pretty favorable schedule. I know we have yet to see Atlanta play as a recording, but that defense did nothing impressive last week. Philadelphia, while a good defense, that secondary still looks like the weakness in that defense. So Denver looks like an absolute train wreck right now. Yeah. New Orleans, I know that, they just had a very impressive win off Dallas. I'm not going to take anything away from that, but they did allow several big passing plays against the Dallas offense. So I think that Baker Mayfield will finish as a top 5 fantasy quarterback this season. And this week is your last chance to get him.
That is true. You definitely want to pick him up before he becomes that much more of a bigger name and everybody's going to be clamoring to get him. So yeah, I definitely like that off the waiver wire. I'm going to jump to the running back position here and I'm going to go with Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings. Ooh. And so kind of like how I was discussing, not maybe you as much, but I was discussing about how Tyjae Spears might eat into Tony Pollard sort of production load there in Tennessee. Aaron Jones signing in Minnesota, a lot of people expected him to sort of lead that backfield, being the veteran, being an established, running back in the league now with the Green Bay Packers for so many years that just like he was going to be the lead guy in Minnesota, no problem there. But I think the biggest thing is that even though Aaron Jones is leading the team in rushing yards, he is only leading the team in rushing attempts by a slim margin. So through the game against San Francisco, so through 2 weeks, Aaron Jones has 23 carries on the season and Ty Chandler has 18. Now, one thing I do want to point out is in this game against the San Francisco 49ers, Aaron Jones did suffer an injury, but he came back and he was perfectly fine. So he should be good to go by week 3. But just in case that's something that could flare up during the practice week, like Ty Chandler was used quite a bit in this offense, and he's actually getting very good production in this offense as well. So it's like, I don't think there's going to be that big of a drop-off between Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. And Ty Chandler is very widely available out there. So it's like, if you need a running back with all the running backs that we listed, or is possibly like, questionable or could miss some time with your Isiah Pacheco's and, possibly Aaron Jones this week, it's like, this is a guy that you could grab off the waiver wire list and maybe even plug him into your roster this coming week because, yeah, he holds value in this offense, even if Aaron Jones is healthy, because I mean, he's being used in that offense for sure. That's just like, it's a very dual backfield sort of situation. I think they want to take as much pressure off of Sam Darnold as they can. That's why we're seeing Sam Darnold succeed in 2 straight weeks as well in that offense. I think they're using the run game very balanced with the passing attack. So it's like, yeah, I think even with Aaron Jones, if he's healthy, if he misses time, regardless of the health status of Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler holds some value in this offense, and he's very worthy of a pickup off the waiver wire.
Let's play your favorite game. Over under.
Okay, let's play.
Over under 2 seasons that Aaron Jones have played every single game.
I'm going to say under.
You are correct. It's under. He's only played 1 full season his entire career.
There you go. There you go.
So something to keep your eye on. Also, this is driving me nuts because I can't remember. This is a conversation I meant to have with you before the show. I totally forgot about it up until this moment. So we're going to have it on air.
Oh, God.
There was a running back. I think it was UAB a couple years ago that we both really, really liked, who went to the Vikings. Was it Ty Chandler? Because I know Ty Chandler didn't go to UAB before people.
No, Ty Chandler went to North Carolina.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember who that Vikings running back was that we really liked? He went in like the 6th round.
I am blanking.
Do you vaguely remember this though? He was a small
UAB,
school guy.
That's the thing that
I don't know if it was UAB, but it was like some small college running back that you and I both were like, oh no, this guy's good. And I know because I convinced Jason Davis, good friend of the show, to draft him in his dynasty league. And like a year later, I was like, I'm so sorry. But while you're looking this up, hopefully finding the name, Ty Chandler is the reason why whoever I'm thinking of did not pan out. And it's because Ty Chandler is actually pretty good. And the thing to note, too, is an interesting trend I noticed is once Justin Jefferson went down, it was obviously after the game, they depend on Aaron Jones a lot in that passing game. In particular, there was a screenplay in the red zone, in fact, inside the top 10, that went directly to Aaron Jones. Not once, but twice. They did that twice after Justin Jefferson went out. So So when Aaron Jones, I'm getting my J's mixed up. Too many J's going around.
Oh my God.
Shut up. But when Aaron Jones gets involved in the passing game, that means 2 things. 1, somebody else needs to be there running back. 2, it's just like a video game. Once again, Aaron Jones' stamina is going down, which means you need somebody else to step up. And so I think it is largely matchup based until, or hopefully not, but if an Aaron Jones injury happens, then Tyler Chandler's stock skyrockets. But if you have the bench space for it, Ty Chandler is an interesting bench and stash for sure.
So you're right. It was UAB. It was Dwayne McBride.
Dwayne McBride. That was it. Oh, all right, people.
Dwayne McBride. Yeah.
He's
currently a free agent.
I was about to say his football career is just dead.
Yeah, he's a free agent right now.
So good.
Because he was drafted last year in 2023. So yeah. He
was that last year?
In the 7th round. Yeah.
God damn, this has been a long year.
Yeah.
That was not last year's draft. No, it was not. That was 2 years. Okay, so that's 2 drafts ago. 2 drafts
ago, but it was
you
last.
You know me. I measure my year in drafts.
No, I guess that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, so unfortunately, it was that. You're right. It was UAB. Just I couldn't remember the name at all. Yeah,
well, bottom line being is
I remember now.
Ty Chandler is the reason Dwayne McBride doesn't have a job.
That is true. Also, Alexander Madison, I think, briefly was holding that role too before.
Yeah, he's a scrub. Actually, he had a pretty good day for Oakland. Sorry, Las Vegas. Sorry.
Oakland is very close to having no teams at all.
Sorry again, buddy.
All right, Ted, let's get to wide receiver. Who do you like off the waiver wire this week?
I like Josh Reynolds.
Okay.
And in case you're going, Josh Reynolds with who has he been with? The Los Angeles Rams or this team or that team? No, he's at a Denver Bronco, which I just learned today. And there's a reason I just learned that today. It's because he has had 13 targets over the last 2 weeks. This dude is a focal point of the offense. And the reason I know that is because if you are the unfortunate soul to have watched the Denver offense, you know this offense sucks. And yet,
it's pretty bad.
It's so bad. And here's the worst part about bad offense. Like the Raiders are a bad offense, but it's still fun to watch, right? Like Devontae Adams made some out there catches today. The Broncos just suck. Like they're just not fun to watch.
It is hard to watch, and they're not using my guy Javonte Williams at all. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing.
No, it's just it's a disaster. But what's not a disaster in that offense is Josh Reynolds. Because like I said, 13 targets over the last 2 weeks, 8 targets week 1, 5 targets this week. That tells me that no matter how bad this offense gets, he's going to be a focal point of this offense. They're going to try to get the ball in his hands. He is the Marquise Colston for Sean Payton right now. He is the guy that's like, you're our everyman. You're the guy Bo Nix depends on. And here's why. And this is really weird to, like, considering his arm strength. Bo Nix is, I don't know if it's the system limiting him or if it's his own fear. He's not throwing it downfield.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him make a single
I don't think he has the time. Based on the highlights that I've seen, it just like it doesn't seem like the offensive line as good as it is. I think I'm not gonna say it's very good, but it's very middle of the road. They got our boy Quinn Miners there. They got former Niner Mike McGlinchey, who I hate, but I mean he's still pretty decent.
You did call that was a bad signing. You called that
was a terrible signing. But regardless of that, it's above average. So it's just like the fact that just like to have a rookie quarterback, I just think they needed somebody a little bit more experienced to sort of work with that line. But yeah, having a rookie quarterback who's adjusting to the game there, it's not working for him to have the time to then make these deep passes to your Cortland Suttons, to his boy Troy Franklin. It's just like it's not being set up, unfortunately.
So yeah, but even today, where if I'm not mistaken, I think they ended the game with 6 points, right?
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, I think they ended up being 13-6. But bottom line being is in a stunted offense this bad that shows no signs of improvement either. That's the whole thing. Is like it's just
that's a tough thing
just
too.
Like you're dead in the water.
Yeah, final score is 13-6.
Yeah, there you go. So Josh Reynolds still in a half PPR league. And if you're in a full PPR league, he finished with more than this. Finished with 11 points. Which for an offensive performance, they're like, oh shit. That's pretty impressive. So at least on the one word that you like is not present with this offense is consistent. But Josh Reynolds with, again, 8 targets last week, 5 targets this week, and 11 points this week. I know his target numbers went down, but his point average went up. You have at least consistency in Josh Reynolds. Am I saying start him if you get him? No. But he is an interesting matchup-based wide receiver that is a good bench receiver to keep there in case emergency happens. And I know it sounds crazy just because we're in week 2. But again, this is how you win the waiver wire. Go for the emergency guys now. Because if you're going for the emergency guys when emergency arises, guess what? Everybody else is too. Yeah, you got to get ahead of the curve. So I think Josh Reynolds is a very interesting ahead of the curve receiver to get on your bench.
Yeah, today he had 4 receptions for 93 yards off of the 5 targets that you mentioned. So, I mean, yeah, it seems to be that a guy that he trusts. And especially as a rookie quarterback, if you find the guy that the rookie trusts the most, he's going to look at him more often. And so, yeah, if that's Josh Reynolds, then that's definitely a guy that you want rostered in your fantasy lineup for sure. So I'm going to go to the tight end position here, Tad, and I'm going to go to an old fantasy star, but just unfortunately just hasn't been looking the same.
Dallas Clark.
Older. Unfortunately, Dallas Clark is fully retired. He's not coming back anytime soon.
Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, he's way retired too. He's doing the Thursday night pregames, remember? So Zach Ertz. Tight end now with the Washington Commanders. So like we talked about with rookie quarterbacks, he seems to be the go-to target for Jaden Daniels in this passing attack because he is second on the team in passing targets this season. He is veteran presence for this team as well. So it's like, I think he likes that sort of assurance from Jaden Daniels, likes his assurance of Zach Ertz in his offense. You have to remember that Zach Ertz played with Cliff Kingsbury back in his Arizona days after he was let go from Philadelphia. He signed with Arizona, or he was traded. No, he was traded. My mistake. He was traded to Arizona, but just he has familiarity with that offense already. So he has a one leg up on everybody else in that offense. That's why Terry McLaurin is off to a slow start for some reason. So it's like, even though we expect Terry McLaurin to eventually get the hang of it, in the interim, I think Zach Ertz is that go-to option for Jaden Daniels. So I think he's going to be a steady option in this offense. Very similar to what we're talking about with Josh Reynolds in the Denver offense. I think Zach Ertz is going to be that sort of safety blanket for Jaden Daniels in this offense for him. And so, yeah, at the tight end position, he's a big body. He'll be able to get, more secure catches, convert third downs for him. So, yeah, I like Zach Ertz as a pickup at the tight end position because, yeah, all you guys that spent all that money on Isaiah Likely, how you looking now? Because it's man. I think the people that
I
did
don't.
pick
Well,
up Isiah Likely,
I'll interrupt you real quick. Don't give up on Isiah Likely yet.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Don't do the knee jerk thing of like, oh, I just picked him up, I'm dropping him. Don't do that, especially because Likely almost had a really. I don't know if you were watching this game, but Likely at the end of the game, not the final play, because that final play is something to break down. Why would you pitch it, Lamar? It's just anyway, it's just so dumb. But Likely had to almost catch. But the Raiders safety came in at the last minute and knocked it out. That would have been an extra 2 or 3 points right there, which for a tight end is not nothing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that heading into this season, John Harbaugh himself said that's like, if I want to keep both Isiah Likely and Mark Andrews involved in this offense. And so what I read into that was just that, okay, we're going to see some games where Isiah Likely is going to go off. I did not expect him to go off the way they did in week 1, and everybody's going to be like, oh, Mark Andrews is still hurt. They're not going to use him in this offense. I think it's very much going to be a situation where it's like, there are going to be some weeks where Isiah Likely is going to get heavily involved and he's going to have a performance like week 1. But then there's also going to be a lot of weeks where he's going to be kind of a dud like this week. And it's going to be more Mark Andrews, or just, we're going to be stifled by this Baltimore offense for some reason. They're just not going to be able to get anything going. And then nobody's going to be relevant, with exception of Zay Flowers. He had a very sensational game today. But just, I think just the biggest thing is exactly like Tad said, do not overreact to what happened with Isiah Likely today. Keep him on your roster. Do not drop him and waste all the free agency money.
Unless you're in our league,
or whatever that you spent.
If you're in our league, drop him immediately.
So I think hang on to him. Just expect that there's going to be weeks where he's not going to be as relevant in this passing offense because Mark Andrews is still healthy and they want to involve him in the offense as well. Or there will be times where just the Baltimore offense just isn't clicking at all. So yeah, do not overreact to Isiah Likely having a bad game.
What about Chris Cooley?
Chris Cooley. There's a name. There's a name. Former Washington commander as well. Or I guess Redskin. I mean, that's
racial slur. Racial slur. All right. Whoa. All right. I got one more tight end. I need your opinion on it.
Kevin Boss.
How's Todd Heap looking?
Todd Heap. That's a better name. There's a better name. I do like some Todd Heap for sure. All right.
What about Jeremy Shockey?
Let's get to the kickers and the defense here. Who do you got for me at the kicker or defense position?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think they're actually worth a pickup. I'm going to go for them next week, even though this offense looked pretty good tonight that they're facing next week. That's the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh,
Minnesota Vikings defense looks good, man. And here's a crazy stat for you. Through 2 games, they have 11 sacks as a team. That's insane. They had 6 week 1, which, okay, fine, it's the Giants. What I feel like that's the Vikings' whole shtick right now. I'm just like, oh, you thought we were faking it? Like, we just played the worst team? Let's play one of the best teams. And I'm sorry, buddy. They made you look like fools.
They did. It was a good showing by their defense.
98 yards, Justin Jefferson.
If you're playing in an IDP league, go pick up Andrew Van Ginkel because he is still killing it with Minnesota. I thought it was just a Miami thing, but no, he is just that good.
Good Lord. White guy in Miami Minnesota killing it. Who would guess? But yeah, bottom line being is like this defense, while not like amazing, I'm not talking like all-time defense, they are legitimately good. And then, so this is what I mean from, I may pick them up and just grit it through this week, and I recommend you do the same. Because next week, do you know who they play?
I do not.
They play the Houston Texans.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. First off, Houston hasn't looked as explosive as we all expected them to. They've looked good. They look good. Not as good as I feel like we were kind of expecting. And also don't forget that Indianapolis Colts defense and fantasy scored like 8-9 points. They had a very solid fantasy showing in week 1. We started recording basically just as soon as the game ended. So I've yet to see what the Bears defense has scored. But bottom line being with Joe Mixon out, I don't think it's exactly a death sentence to play Minnesota against Houston. They may not get you a ton of points, but still. But this is who they have in their next 3 games after next week. They play the Colts. So Anthony Richardson has no touch whatsoever. So when he inevitably rockets a 5-yard throw into the arms of the defensive back, who's also 5 yards away somehow, expect that. So don't be scared of the Colts. Then they play the Packers. And that's week 4. So that's a little iffy of like, will Jordan Love be back? Because they didn't put him on the IR. We're not entirely sure. My guess is they're going to play it safe. especially with the way Malik Willis played this week. I think they're going to keep playing until Jordan Love is 100%. So
you mean the way Josh Jacobs played this?
Yeah, that's also true.
So much Malik Willis.
Thank God I drafted him. Good God. But I think they're going to stick with Malik Willis when they play. And then they play the Jets. And I know that's a little tough. It's the Jets, but at the same time, the Jets only put up 24 against the Titans, and the Titans don't have all that good of an offense or defense. Well, neither offense or defense. But bottom line being is they have a pretty favorable schedule. Not the best schedule, but they have a pretty favorable schedule going forward. I think if you're streaming a defense and you kind of want to stop, which is where I'm at, where I'm like, I don't want to stream a defense this early. Minnesota's not a bad one to pick up. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, the Bears defense today scored 7 points in fantasy.
There you go. Like I said, safe bet. I'm not saying they're going to kill it for you, but it's just someone you can depend on for the next 4 weeks.
Not bad. Not bad. I'll go with the kicker position here, and I'm going to go. Actually, this is a bonus pick, but talk about Minnesota. Will Reichard. I think he's a guy that's worth picking up because he had a pretty good game today against San Francisco. And then all the same things that you're mentioning about the defense going forward, they're probably going to be in situations where Reichard is going to have to get some kicks in as well. So, yeah, I like him as a pickup as well for this strong showing today. But the guy that I'm actually want to speak about a little bit more because of a guy that we brought up earlier this episode, Cooper Kupp being out and the Rams being decimated by all these injuries, I think go with the Rams kicker, Joshua Carty, the rookie out of Stanford.
If I had kicker, this would have been my pick as well.
In 2 games this season, the rookie for Stanford has kicked 3 field goals and 3 extra points. He has missed none of them at all. I think the biggest thing, like I said, with the injury bug hitting the Rams, I think they'll be able to still move the ball down the field because that's just Sean McVay has that capabilities to get the most out of his offense. And so it's like they'll be able to get close enough, but there could be situations where they end up stalling. Because remember, Kyron Williams is still healthy. They have Blake Corum. They have all these guys in the running game, so they should be able to get close enough. But there may be situations where it's just like, yeah, they may have to settle for a field goal. And I think Joshua Carty, with this sort of injury bug sort of decimating the Los Angeles Rams, he could be in a situation where he'll be set up for a lot of field goals in the next handful of weeks to really, be a worthy streaming option for you for the next couple of weeks for sure. So, yeah, Joshua Carty as a rookie, I like this pick off the waiver wire.
Perfect. I 100% agree with everything you said. I think that might be the first time I've said this in the podcast history. But let me ask you this. Did you see how the second half ended in that Rams-Cardinals game?
I wasn't watching much of it. Sorry.
Okay. So I don't blame you, man. That game was terrible.
Yeah. Sorry, Chauncey. It was not fun to watch.
I hate those afternoons where it's like, oh, we got 3 afternoon games. You're like, shit.
That's, as much fun as Red Zone is, it's only fun when there's so many games going.
Yeah,
because when there's only 3,
as soon as witching hour's done, you're just like,
it's not as exciting. It's not as exciting.
So trust me, I wouldn't know either if it weren't for Red Zone. But exactly like what you say, here's how it ended. They were on approximately the 5-yard line. I don't know, 5 seconds left to go. Stafford, snaps the ball, is pressured almost immediately because his line can't block for shit.
Yeah.
And then he throws the ball kind of towards the back of the end zone, but goes a little out of bounds, and they flag it.
Okay.
And here's the whole problem is, was it intentional grounding or what was it? And eventually I believe they called it intentional grounding. I may have the penalty wrong, but bottom line being is the penalty went against the Rams. Mm-hmm. But that's a perfect encapsulation. I think I said that right. I don't know if I said that right. It's a perfect example. There we go. It's a perfect example. Yeah, much simpler. Of what you're talking about, where you're on the 5-yard line, but you can't score, and you screw it up, and the clock runs out because the penalty was this clock runs to 0 now.
Yeah,
and that's why. It was a great last drive, and they left with no points. And at that point, it was only a 10-point game. It yet to turn into a blowout. And that's one of those major turning points in the game you look for. It's like if we had scored on that drive, maybe it wouldn't have gotten so out of hand. And so I completely agree with you. I think this offense right now reeks of one that will get there, but not get all the way there. And I think Josh McCarty, a former All-American kicker at UCLA, an LA homegrown boy, he's a good kicker. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a very dependable fantasy kicker moving forward.
Why are you bringing up UCLA?
Because he went to UCLA.
Josh McCarty went to Stanford.
Damn it!
I literally just said that. He went to Stanford. It.
I wasn't listening to you. I don't listen to you. Are you sure? Are you sure? I'm fact-checking you.
Unless he started at UCLA. I can't speak for that. But yes, he was drafted out of Stanford.
Stanford, UCLA, same thing.
Not even
California,
the same colors.
California.
Not even the same colors
You all are the
either.
same.
One's a tree,
You
one's
all
a bear.
here's
It's
a
like
shocker.
not even.
Here's a shocker to all you California people. The world does not revolve around you. It's the same thing
Oh my
in the
gosh.
same state. You know what? Fine. He may not. Palo Alto. Sorry. Palo Alto. Born and raised. Great. It's the same thing as LA. Get over yourselves.
You know, it's the same school that Andrew Luck went to, and you praise Andrew Luck.
Hey,
So.
no, that motherfucker retired early. Especially now you're bringing up a Colts quarterback that quit on me.
Oh gosh, of course.
Palo Alto, San Jose, San Diego. How many fucking cities do you guys have? Just get over yourselves.
It's what it is.
California,
all right, guys. So
overrated.
that's our waiver wire episode for today. That's our waiver wire episode for this week. In case you need more waiver wire picks, I mean, please interact with us on our social media handles because I mean that's the best way you can find out about anything else that you need with your league specifically. You got us on our social media handles. You got me at the Side 23 on Twitter. You got Tad794. Got the show handle at the Isiah Guys, and of course on Instagram at the Isiah Guys as well. So we'll be posting our video as soon as we're ready to go. But including that, we'll give you hyper specific advice for your league specifically. But the only way we know about that is if you interact with us. So let us know about your waiver wire decisions, your start sit decisions, your trade offers. I mean, I've already made a trade in the LAFB league, and I mean, Tad is close to making a trade in his league. So it's like we're already thinking about trades, people, because sometimes these things need to be out there so you can start to adjust your roster because, yeah, you want things like in a flux right now. This is the best time to sort of make some trades before things really get finite about like these are the good guys, these are bad guys. There's a little bit of like, you know, fluctuation going on right now. So this is a good time to trade. So if you need some trade help, we will help you with that. Our goal this year is definitely to help you guys win as many fantasy titles and championships as we can. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so it's up to date with our YouTube channel videos as well. And please, guys, support our parent network at LAFB Network. They're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Chargers and the Rams. They'll give you all the great content with the Rams injuries and the Chargers with Justin Herbert, what's going on there. They will give you up-to-the-date information with all that. And, of course, you got the UCLA Bruins and the USC Trojans as well. They got you covered on all four fronts for all four LA football teams. But guys, to everybody who's already interacted with us on social media, who's listening to the podcast, who's watching the videos, who's supporting us in any way, in every way that you can, we really can't thank you enough.
And like Amar said, we are here to help you not just through the waiver wire process, but through every step of the process. But it's important not to forget, you got to tune in Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We are dropping our start sit episodes sometime in that span. We wish we could keep it more consistent. My bad. I'll take responsibility for that. But somewhere in that span, we drop our start sit episodes. We promise it will always drop right before, you have to set your lineup. So be sure to listen there. If you're struggling between, do I start this receiver or this receiver? Chances are we probably touch on that in that episode. If not, then DM us right there, right below on socials. If you are listening to us on the podcast, check the description. We throw our socials in there as well. And also, don't forget, especially for our podcast listeners listening, that's the key word, listening to us right now. If you're listening, not watching us, then you need to go to the YouTube short channel of LAFB Network to check out our best bets, courtesy of our partners at Underdog Fantasy, of the NFL week. We actually hit, I believe, 3 out of 4 this week, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, last week we went 1 out of 4, but we were able to better our odds this week. We went 3 out of 4.
We fixed it. So right now, if you do the math, it's 4 out of 4. Don't tell me that's not how the math works. That's how the math works in my head. So, guys, we have so much content coming out now that we're in the season. I'm excited for it. It's been a wild season. We already touched on it. It's been a wild season.
It's been crazy.
These fantasy scores are all over the place.
True.
Trust us. It's just as crazy for you as it is for us, but we are doing our best to make it make sense for you. So keep tuning in, keep listening, keep watching. And as always, everyone, please keep staying safe.